Hello my friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And before I get going with today's video, I just want to say a big hello and a big thank you to all the new subscribers and to everyone who watched, commented, liked, whatever on my last video, because you guys really seem to enjoy that. And that was an experimental video because I wanted to see if that topic, movies that need a Blu-ray release, would be a conversation that you were interested in having. And based on the response, it clearly is, so I've decided to make it a regular segment on the channel because there are so many movies out there. If I did a list every week, we still wouldn't hit on all the movies that need a Blu-ray release or an upgraded transfer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a regular part of the channel so we can dive into genres, decades, whatever you want to do. We can kind of break it down so we can hit more films. I'm even going to do a viewer's pick day because you guys had some awesome suggestions in the comments. So I want to thank you for that. And you can look forward to more of those videos coming in the future because I think it'll be a fun segment for the channel. So moving on to today's video, this is my first of the 31 days of Halloween, what I'm watching in October. And what I'm doing is I'm following a chart that I found, and each day has a different topic. So it'll give you a category, and then you get to pick the film or films that you want to watch in that category. So that's how it works, and each week we'll have different categories that I'll go over, let you know what I watched. So the first day was vampires, and I decided to go with one that I don't think I hear a lot of people talking about. I don't know if I've heard too many other people talking about this one. It's called Byzantium, and it stars Saoirse Ronan. And Saoirse Ronan is part of a mother-daughter vampire duo, if you will. They've been on the run for about 200 years, and the mother's name is Clara, and Saoirse Ronan, I think her name is Eleanor. Yeah, Eleanor. And they're very, very different. Clara is very hardened and tough, and Eleanor, being younger, is a little more compassionate and has a little more feeling to her, as much as a feeling as a vampire can have. And they decide to kind of set up shop in this little town. And the mother, Clara, decides that she wants to open a brothel, of all things. So she wants to prostitute and do what she does. And this story is basically about what happens when they set up in this town and the people they meet and the things that happen. And I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil it. But what I can tell you is this is very, very different than any other vampire films I have seen. And some people say this is the best vampire film since Let the Right One In, and I have to agree. This is an excellent, excellent vampire film. So if you like vampire films and you want to see something different, definitely check out Byzantium. I'm going to put it right down here so you can get the spelling of it because it's a little, I know it's not a really common name, but really, really great performances and a really good story. And it really does shy away from the tried and true vampire movies, but really good one. Byzantium for the first day. And I had to do a second one just because I love this movie so much. I think it is the ultimate vampire movie. It's one of my favorites. It stars Josh Hartnett, and it is 30 Days of Night. And I think this is universally well received. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with this movie, I highly suggest checking it out. It takes place in a town in Alaska where they have 30 days of darkness, and what ends up happening is vampires ascend upon the town. And for the people who are left there, it's a fight for survival. And these are some of the scariest vampires I have ever seen in a vampire movie. And they're snowed in, it's dark, and these people are just trying to survive, but it is so, so good. I don't think I've ever recommended this to anyone who was disappointed. So if you want to tried and true, definitely check out 30 Days of Night. You will not be disappointed. And the second day was Anthology. Pick an Anthology film, and I have two. The first one I picked this one because I don't think I watched this one last year, but this is a really awesome anthology film that, again, I don't hear a lot of people talking about. And it is called Tales from the Hood. And I'll show you the cover real quick. That's Tales from the Hood. And this is the, it's the Scream Factory edition. And basically what this is, it takes place in a neighborhood, and you have these guys. They go into a funeral home because their friend is being laid out in this funeral home, and they start to talk to the funeral director, and he starts to tell them different stories about the people who are in the funeral home, in the funeral parlor, and all these stories that happen in their neighborhood. And it's an anthology movie about their neighborhood, or Tales from the Hood. and it's really good, very interesting. I can't think of one segment in this that I did not like, but I thought it was really well done. It's really interesting. It's super cool. It's edgy, and I think it has a lot of character, and it's different from a lot of the anthology films that I've seen. So Tales from the Hood was my pick for Anthology Day. And then again, if we want to go with a classic and a tried and true, no October would be complete for me personally without giving a look to Trick or Treat. I mean, this is the ultimate October Halloween anthology film. We have our guy Sam here. This is a really cool slipcover collector's variant that was released by Scream Factory. I believe it was 2019. Maybe it was 2018. I'm losing track of days and years here, but this is so good. It has so many different little stories that interconnect, and it's the ultimate anthology story, and it's perfect for Halloween. You can't ask for more. And I mean, come on, Sam. Come on, who doesn't love our guy Sam and his little lollipop? But definitely a cool one. And if you haven't seen Trick or Treat, put it on your list to watch because it's a good one. And my next category was witches, and again, I picked one that I hadn't seen in like a year or so because I wanted to do a little refresh from my last year's watches. And this one stars Fairuza Balk, Robin Tunney, Neve Campbell, and Rachel True, and it is The Craft. And this movie was done in 1996, I believe. Yeah, 1996. But let me tell you, this movie has aged really well. And one of the nice things, one of many nice things about this movie has enough horror elements that it's fun for even the die-hard horror fans, but it's tame enough that for the person who isn't into like the gore and the jump scares and whatnot, even a non-horror horror fan will enjoy this film because it has a lot to offer. It has a great story, great acting, really good on-screen chemistry between the four main actresses, and just a really cool story. And basically you have these three girls who are practicing, rumored to be practicing witchcraft, and then a new girl comes into school and they decide that they want to take her in and see what she has to offer, their coven, as they decided to call themselves a coven. But I don't want to get into any more because if you, on the off chance that someone hasn't seen it, but I highly recommend it because there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and it's a very cool, very stylistic film, and it's a lot of fun. It's a 90s throwback, but it's a lot of fun, and I think you really enjoy it. So The Craft, I had to have this on my list. It's just so good. Next category was Supernatural, and this one was actually already off the shelf because I had this out for some reason. I can't remember why, but I had it out for another video and I hadn't put it back yet, and I'm like, I have to watch this because I haven't watched it in a little bit. And of course it is Carrie. And for those of you who haven't seen Carrie, poor Carrie, she is it's the ultimate bullying story. She is relentlessly bullied at school. And this one is from, when is this one from? Originally 1976. And again, this transfer looks fantastic. It's another Scream Factory release, but it looks great. And Carrie is relentlessly bullied at school. She is a very quiet, shy girl. She barely speaks. At home, her mother's extremely overbearing. And I said it before, the mother in this movie terrifies me more than Carrie ever did. And she goes home, and this mother is a religious fanatic. She locks her in a closet if she defies the mother, if she speaks out of turn, if she says anything the mother doesn't like. So she's being bullied everywhere she goes. And Carrie starts to realize or find out that she may not have a voice, but she has these supernatural powers that come out when she's upset and she feels like she can't say what she feels. And I'm kind of going to leave it at that, but this is an awesome movie with a killer ending, and if you haven't seen Carrie, definitely put it on your list for Supernatural Day. So that's my next pick. And then we had a free day where they gave us a day where it was viewer's choice. So I went with a movie that I really have come to enjoy. It's become one of my favorites over the last few years. This is from 2012, and it's a film from the Soska sisters called American Mary. And here it is. I have my autographed copy. The sisters were kind enough to sign it for me at a convention. And our main gal here is a medical student, and she becomes disillusioned with the whole medical school thing, and she is trying to find ways to support herself, and she comes across maybe some unsavory, questionable people, and she doesn't quite fit the bill for the job that she wanted for them. But because she has medical training, she decides to go into doing body modifications out of her home. And I don't want to give too much more away, but this is a fantastic film, and she is a great leading gal, and this is a really cool story, and it's a really cool film. Great effects, great acting, cool story. If you haven't seen American Mary, put it on your list, get a copy and watch it, because you will not be disappointed. And it's something different. It doesn't follow the same horror tropes that, we see time and time again, especially in modern horror. This is really different, and I just felt like it was worth a look again, because it's not the same old, same old. It definitely brings something fresh and new to the table, and I love that about it, among many things. There's so many things I like about this movie, but American Mary was my viewer's choice pick. So those are my first films. I'm going to grab the next ones, and I'll be right back. Okay, friends, just a few more days and a few more movie categories, and we're going to wrap this one up. The next category was found footage. Now, I am admittedly not the biggest fan of found footage, as I know a lot of people aren't, but this is one that was suggested to me on the channel from some viewers, and I was not disappointed. And it is The Houses October Built. And this is a movie that takes place, it's an RV trip, a group of friends are going out in search of the most extreme haunts. And these are haunts that are put up just during the month of October around Halloween. And I guess some of these haunts are kind of underground, and they have to get it through unconventional means, get the name and address of the haunt. So they're looking for the scariest haunts they can find, and they're recording things. They're recording their trip, and when they go out into these haunts, they're trying to record the activities in the haunts, which angers the people running the haunts, because they do not want to be recorded, and they tell them and they tell them and they tell them, and eventually they piss off the wrong people. And that's what I'm going to tell you about the adventures there, because things start to happen. And I can tell you that I know it's fake, I know it's not real, but this movie gave me so much anxiety from beginning to end. I don't normally get anxious when I'm watching a movie, but this movie freaked me out. I don't know what it was, but there's so much tension, so much anxiety-inducing so many anxiety-inducing scenes and events that take place. This freaked me out. And there is a sequel, and I have it, and I can't wait to watch it. I haven't yet, but I'm sure I'm going to watch it this month. But this had to be my choice for found footage. And if you haven't seen The Houses October Built, even if you're not a fan of found footage, I think you're really going to enjoy it, so put it on your list. Ooh, creep factor to the nth degree. And the next category was really interesting. They wanted us to pick a horror movie with a lead who isn't normally known for playing a horror role. So I went with, this is more of a psychological thriller, but I think it has enough horror elements that it fits the category. It is Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo. And Robin Williams is so creepy in this. And, Robin Williams, he is was a brilliant actor, may he rest in peace. But he was known for comedy, maybe some awesome drama with comedy mixed in. I mean, anything he does, he's great at. But this was such a departure from his normal roles. He blew me away in this one. And I have to say, the first time I watched it years ago, my expectations were very managed. I didn't expect much, but I have really grown to love this film. He plays a guy who works in, think like a Walmart type of a store, where they have a photo developing area where people can drop off. When we used to have film, they would drop off films and get the photos developed. And he starts to have this one family that he's been developing in their photos for years and years, and he starts to feel this unnatural obsession with the family through their photos. He thinks he's their friend, he thinks he knows them, and that's all I'm really going to get into with it. But he's creepy, he's stalkerish, he's obsessed, and this is a really good film, and it's really unnerving, and it's icky, and just all the things that you would expect to feel from like a psychological thriller type of film. And Robin Williams gives a great performance in this one. So if you haven't seen 1 Hour Photo, highly recommend it. And that was my pick for that day. And this one will come as no surprise. The category for this day was films with shocking endings. And you probably already know it before I say it, because this has shocked and horrified viewers for decades. And it is the first Sleepaway Camp. Who doesn't remember? I mean, it's one of those endings that once you see it, it can't be unseen ever. You're scarred for life. And this is from, I think, 1983. It's 84 minutes, so it's a quick watch. Takes place at a summer camp. And we have some things that start to go wrong. People start showing up injured, dead. People are missing. We're not sure where people are. We have the bad 80s clothes, bad 80s haircuts. I think there's even a scene in the shower, if I remember correctly, where there's some Flex shampoo. For those of you who are using Flex shampoo in the 80s, it's in there. But there's some cool kills, there's some kind of cheesy, predictable kills, but it's a lot of fun. And I love any kind of a horror movie set in like a camp setting, like Friday the 13th, of course, but Sleepaway Camp, it's a win. And but it was in this category for the ending, because if you've seen it, you know the ending, it's shocking, it's horrifying, and it can't be unseen. So if you haven't seen Sleepaway Camp, definitely put it on your list. And there's also Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. So if you want more Sleepaway Camp fun, there's more to be had. And the last category for this first segment were films and their sequels. And I picked kind of ordinary ones because they're just ones that I love. And the first one, I think I posted this on my Instagram because I started a little bit early. I had to go with The Exorcist. I love The Exorcist. It has scared me from the first time. This is the lenticular cover. I don't know if you can see her eyes kind of freaking out there, but I mean, Linda Blair as Reagan just freaks me out. The practical effects were so good, and I actually read some articles about this, and they told how they did some of the practical effects and how many of the actors were actually injured due to the force that they had to create to make the practical effects look authentic. And they did such a great job, and the movie just holds up. The transfer looks great on this one, and it's just one of those stories. It just holds up, and it still freaked me out. It's still unnerving. It's still uncomfortable to watch. And The Exorcist will always be on my list of films that scared me the most, because this has always freaked me out. And this time around, it was no different, but it was a great way to kick off the Halloween watches. And now I went with the sequel that I consider the direct sequel to The Exorcist. I kind of skip over 2, and I go with Exorcist III. Because this one is from 1990. It's supposed to take place 15 years after the original death of Father Damien Karras, who was the priest, one of the priests who performed The Exorcist on Reagan. And we know what happened to him. And George C. Scott plays a detective who is working on a series of crimes, and he was very good friends with Father Karras. So this brings out some things that they did it in a really cool way, because he's working on a murder case and things start to come out that are related to this murder case that's closed, and things start to come out related to the exorcism of Reagan. And I don't want to say any more because I'm going to ruin it. I'm going to ruin it if I keep talking. But all I can say is, if you want a really good sequel to The Exorcist, go right to The Exorcist III, because you will not be disappointed. George C. Scott gives a great performance. I would not recommend, I watched both cuts, the theatrical and the director's cut. I would not recommend watching the director's cut, because they do that terrible thing where you're watching the movie, it looks great, and all of a sudden it goes to this weird, bizarre box, like VHS thing, and they throw this footage in that seems to not really belong. You're not really sure how it ties into the story, and then they go back to the regular film, and they do that throughout the film. So I wasn't happy with the director's cut. Go with the theatrical. It's a win every time. But yeah, Exorcist III, it's an awesome one. And then this one, this is just one of my favorites. I just love this one. I know that some of you die-hard horror fans may not agree, but I just think this was a game changer when the horror genre just needed a boost, and it is the original Scream. And here's my copy that's signed up by Neve Campbell. I was lucky enough to meet her at Monster Mania convention about a year and a half ago. And this was just so much fun. It's from Wes Craven, and we have the Ghostface Killer running around, and it's got such a perfect mix of a little comedy, plenty of horror, plenty of great kills, and it also makes so many references to horror movies. And we have our guy that works at the video store, and he's constantly making, you know, references to horror tropes and how you die in a horror film or how to survive a horror film. And this just set the bar differently for horror movies. It was something so new and so fresh when it came out. It just took it to a different level, and I felt like it came out at a time when horror was starting to feel really stale, and it brought something fresh and new and hip and young to the horror genre when it needed it. And for that reason, one of many reasons, but for that reason alone, it will always have a special place for me in horror. And of course, I had to watch Scream 2, because why not? And this is a fun follow-up to the original, and what they've done is they've turned around and they've made a movie about the things that happen in Woodsboro in the original Scream, and that's how it starts out. They have the movie, I think it's called Stab, and things start to happen, and we have another situation where Ghostface has returned, and that's what this movie is about. And I'm not going to tell you any more in case you haven't took the plunge into the Scream franchise yet, but Scream 2 is it's a fun follow-up to the first one. I think it's really good. So those were my first, this was my first group of films that I watched according to my chart, and there are plenty more to follow, so I'm going to do this update once a week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the films I picked. Let me know what you guys are watching, or if you want to follow along with this, let me know what you plan to watch. I want to thank you as always for watching. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up, leave me some comments, recommendations, suggestions, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you'll know when I upload again. I am going to upload another review video during the week, and I think maybe we might do a giveaway. Let's see what happens, but you can stay tuned for that. And I will see you later on in the week, so I'm going to call it for today. So for now, that's a wrap.